The story we're about to go over has been making the rounds on X, and I've been seeing a lot of people posting about it. Specifically, Cape Independent did an article on this as well, so I started following the leads in order to see if there is a source for all of this. Should be made clear. None of the things here are verifiable because the article in question, and I'll quickly show you what I'm talking about. Now, the story itself comes from National Security News. I have tried everything and I've looked everywhere to see just how credible this site is. I even went so far as asking ChatGPT and Grok, how reliable is this site? And both of these AI models gave me a fairly reliable rating for most of their articles, except it doesn't know if this article is true because the article itself deals with a number of anonymous sources. Now, anonymous sources aren't always bad. Sometimes people speak, congressmen, for example, in this instance, they speak on the basis of anonymity so that they can say what they want to say without making official proclamations, because it might be that the US isn't in a position yet where it has all of the facts ready to make official proclamations. But for the most part, most of their articles check out to be true, at least according to Grok and ChatGPT independently. So the article here comes from National Security News, and it states that US lawmakers have expressed growing concern about the subversion of press freedom in South Africa by the country's state security agency. And it specifically targets News24, and you'll see here that the Cape Independent wrote this article as well. According to US lawmakers in this article, they have found a growing number of articles within News24 that whenever someone says something against the ANC on the international stage, or whenever someone exposes some of the, let's say, skeletons within the ANC's closet, News24 will be one of the first to start a targeted character attack. This was done against Emma Powell. Specifically, the South African State Security Agency went after Emma Powell, and according to US lawmakers, News24 put fuel on the fire, questioning Emma Powell and questioning exactly what Emma Powell does and what she stands for, what her credibility might be. Very pertinently to this article was Rob Hersov, where as soon as Rob Hersov spoke about the corruption of the ANC, News24 almost immediately had an article ready to go to basically trash Rob Hersov's character, spread a whole bunch of disinformation about him. But then more importantly, and according to this article as well, News24 distorted the facts of what Rob Hersov was saying. So fact checking, as News24 oftentimes likes to do. And they're not wrong. At the time of Rob Hersov, and you guys remember when the delegation went to South Africa, at the time, almost every single media outlet in South Africa were very much, let's call it, being creative with the crime statistics. So, for example, News24 and others quoted things like, or say things like, oh, South Africa has 27,000 murders a year. Crime in general is a problem. It's not so much just farmers that's being attacked. But that's not how crime statistics work. We don't look at the crime statistics for an entire country in order to figure out who needs protection. We look at different groups, for example, different areas, different geographies, different locations, different people, different cultures. All of these things are super important when you're devising a police strategy. For example, the Police Killings Task Force was released, or unleashed, I should say, in KwaZulu-Natal. Why weren't they unleashed in Cape Town, for example? Well, the answer is there is very few political assassinations that happen in Cape Town. The majority happens in KwaZulu-Natal. So if you were to make the argument, oh, politicians aren't dying all the time, what are you talking about? Throughout South Africa, there's very few deaths happening, that involves political leaders. They were like, yeah, but in KwaZulu-Natal, it is clearly a problem, and therefore you need police action there. The same goes for women, right? You could make the argument, well, what are you talking about? Women aren't getting abused or raped at all. What do you mean? There's just a lot of crime in South Africa in general. And you go, well, hold on. If we look at women specifically, there is clearly a problem with rape, right? And so we need to come up with policing strategies in order to combat that. But the media, News24 and others, were very quick to sort of lie or be very creative with what the facts are. And according to US lawmakers now, they seem to think that News24 is getting their marching orders from the state security agency. The state security agency answers directly to the Minister of Intelligence. The Minister of Intelligence answers directly to the President, Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, according to one congressional leader, they are now urgently discussing the merits of recommending the incorporation of a section specifically on protecting whistleblowers, combating disinformation, and ensuring media accountability. Now, this is again very important because what did News24 do the second some South Africans took up the refugee offer from America? News24 posted their names. Every single one of them. Their families were threatened. They were threatened. News24 did that. Why did they do that? I'll also note that it's News24 that forced the Americans to start making all of it secret. That's why you don't hear about refugees and how many refugees are leaving the country. That's why you don't hear about which planes and which aircrafts are taking refugees to America. The reason is News24 continuously exposes and doxes the people that would otherwise just be going to America. It's an interesting question to ask. Why would the media be involved in doxing people? I mean, News24 could think for themselves that in a country as divided as South Africa, posting the names of people who claim to be refugees in a country where most people are saying how absurd it is, including the 40 prominent Afrikaners that did the same, there might be some blowback. Of course, nothing happened in South Africa because according to our government and our legal system, who gets their marching orders from our government, when you put white people's lives in danger, there really is not a problem. Farmers being the most dangerous job in the world, you heard that right. Being a white South African farmer is the most dangerous job in the world. That's of no concern because South Africa has 27,000 murders a day, so who cares about a couple of farmers dying? It's the least of our worries, according to News24. The Cape Independent picked up on this story as well, and they wrote their own article. You can make of their reliability whatever you will. Again, I fact-checked it as much as I could, but what do you do with anonymous sources? The fact is, none of this would surprise me. We have long since held that News24 is incredibly selective with their coverage. They cover only things if and when it seems to be helpful to Cyril Ramaphosa. The fact that the Minister of Intelligence answers directly to Cyril Ramaphosa, and the fact that these allegations seem to suggest that News24 is in the pocket of the state security agency, it makes it seem like Ramaphosa uses News24 to get rid of his enemies, to make sure that people are looking in the right places for the people who aren't part of his faction, and that everyone in his faction is absolutely protected. This is why News24 is absolutely filled with articles about Paul Mashatile or the Tembisa hospital scandal. And yet, you'll never see an article about Pala Pala. You won't see an article calling out Cyril Ramaphosa for the terrible job that he's doing. In fact, right now, News24 and other media sources are going after the DA for daring to fight BEE, for daring to be anti the incredibly failed experiment that is Black economic empowerment and affirmative action and all the rest. News24 will attack effectively any enemy of the state, while at the same time pretending like they are the only independent news organization in the country and that they are trusted news. The fact of the matter is you don't hate these people enough. They are terrible individuals, terrible human beings, and pretty much everyone that works at News24 should never be trusted with anything. I wouldn't even trust these people to watch my car, right, outside the mall, because they might steal it, or better, or worse yet, they might give it away to the government for some stupid reason. I don't think anyone is surprised by this, but I also don't know if it's true, right? It could be, it could not be. All of this could be alleged. The one thing that isn't alleged, as far as I'm concerned, is News24 and the incredible bias of that news organization. As always, ladies and gentlemen, hit the like if you liked, the dislike if you didn't. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of this story. Trust News24? Don't trust them? Let me know. Massive shout out and thank you to all of the patrons, YouTube channel members, and every single one of you that support this channel through super chats and super thanks and all the rest of it. I really appreciate you. To become a patron, link in the description down below, or join button right below this video. As always, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.